Book 66 of 2019 was Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erikson. This book I really enjoyed listening to. I love kind of like personality types and anything to do with like psychological personality stuff. I love Myers-Briggs. I love like the big five personality traits, questionnaire things. I like all of that kind of stuff because it kind of gives you insight into you and other people. And I do understand that often when we read something, we attribute it to ourselves and think that it's true when it's not, like astrological signs and all that kind of stuff. I get all that, and I get it's not probably very scientific, and that you probably, like with Myers-Briggs, you can't, you know, dissect everyone into 16 personality types, and with this one you can't dissect everybody into 4, or the very, I guess there's probably 16 in this one if you think about mixes and stuff, or more. I get that, but still it kind of makes sense to me. So, you know, Erikson proposes that there's 4 main personality types. So there's a red personality type, a blue personality type, a yellow, and a green. And that people can be just one, but that's a very small percentage. Most people are a mixture of 2, and then another small percentage are a mixture of 3. And that based on how they kind of behave, how they talk, how they, you know, react to stress and things, gives you an indication of what the personality type is like. So kind of just to break it down, if I can remember, yellow personality types are those that are always outgoing, talking all the time, positive, probably a little bit bullshitty sometimes. Like they kind of talk before they kind of fact check what they're saying, and they're all interested in, like, you know, socializing with people all the time. A little bit of the daydreamers, can probably go off on a tangent quite often. Green personalities are kind of like the rocks, the stable people, the people that will look out for other people and not rock the boat. They don't want to challenge the status quo. They're quite, you know, the steady goers. The blue personalities are the ones that are very meticulous, very fact checky, very kind of can be perceived by other people as being quite cold because they like to think rather than talk. So they're perceived as perhaps less social. And then the red personality type, which is the kind of alpha aggressive aggression, ambitious, very direct, could be seen as hostile by other people. So we've got these kind of 4 personality types, and you know, people can be a mix of 3 or 2, or can be just one. And so I thought that it was really interesting because Erikson presents the whole book as there's people that you instantly click with because different personality types work better than others in combination. Like along the spectrum, the ones that are closer together on the spectrum work better together. So for example, blue and red work well together because they've both got a direct way of talking. They take all the fluff out of conversation, so they don't work particularly well with yellows, because yellows are very kind of like, you know, they skate around the issue a lot. You could tell I'm not a yellow and I'm more of a blue and a red. So it could be quite difficult for those types of people to kind of gel and become friends. Greens generally, you know, are quite friendly with all the personality types because they are kind of like the steady, but then they can be perceived as quite boring by like the blues and the reds because they like expect more from their friendship. I'm just trying to think if there was other things. There's like loads of like descriptions of all the 4 personality types, and also like the strengths of them, and also like the weaknesses and how they're perceived as negative by the other types, which is fascinating really, because it kind of makes a lot of sense. Like as I was reading it, I was imagining people in my life and people that I've worked with that are these different personality types, and why I've either gelled with them or I've clashed with them. And it kind of makes you a little bit more compassionate towards people, in that it's not that you dislike them as a person, you just dislike their personality type, in that what they have a preference for is opposite to you, and so you wouldn't click. So it's not a case of liking or disliking, it's just a case of not kind of gelling with them. You know, I find it quite difficult to be around people that just talk all the time, like, because I like to think and things over and then kind of come up with something. So obviously the opposite personality type would find me quite annoying because I'm not as kind of outgoing and sociable and engaging in that energy of that conversation, because I like to be kind of more thoughtful of it, I guess. But obviously we're all different mixtures. I think I'm actually probably a mixture of 3. I think the only personality type that I don't really have is the green one. because I think the yellow one's also really creative, so I have like a little dash of that, I think. But yeah, I think that's basically about it, really. Like the books, like all the different personality types, how they get on with each other, how they don't, and then how as well you can be more amenable to other personality types that aren't yours, like what you can do to kind of satisfy them and get on with them better. So it's almost like a kind of way of, if you have to work with certain people who are of a different personality type to you, how do you go about that? So for example, in emails, like in my email like communication style, I'm very direct because that's obviously like explained by my personality type. I don't have any of the fluff like hope your day's nice, hope your weekend's been good, or any of that stuff. Or when I talk to people, like if I need something from someone, I go straight in with what I need. I don't go, hi, how are you? How's this been? Oh, can I have this, by the way? Like, I'm not like that, and that's a detriment to me when I'm talking to people who like that, because they get offended that I've gone straight in and asked for what I want. So I have to manage how I'm speaking to people, and kind of like in emails I have to be a little bit like, oh hey, like, whereas if I was emailing somebody who was a red, I wouldn't do that. I would just do how I normally would do it, because they would appreciate that directness. So it's about thinking about what the other person's like and how they will perceive what you've written, because even though you prefer directness, and if someone was to put that to you, you'd be like, oh, what's all this bump like in this email? Like, I don't need to know anything about this. Like, neither one is correct or incorrect, it's just a preference on the person. So if you want to kind of get on the good side of the other person, you think about how they're going to perceive it, not necessarily how you intended it. So that was like really interesting as well, so I definitely recommend it. Whether it's completely scientific and accurate, I don't know, but yeah, definitely interesting to listen to.